Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
Proceed to your post assignment. All units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation. MisFitNation. The MisFitNation show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_MisFitNation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation. It's your Thursday after dinner show. I'm glad to have you here. I hope you've seen our second video as we started the show tonight for SOF Missions. Great organization, wearing a hat right here. If you have not checked out their website, check it out. If you are a veteran, get into one of the Be Resilient clinics. It'll help you. It changed me. It made me focus more on my life. It'll help you focus more on your life and your family as well. Tonight, we have a brother that I guess sucked up the same dirt as I did. In strike, we had a saying, I am a strike soldier. I fight where I'm told. I win where we fight. Well, his unit was sent to a valley where the Russians got their asses handed to them in their whole conflict in Afghanistan. His unit was able to go in there along with Strike Brothers and clear out the Arghandab Valley. So he left a musical career to join the military after 9/11, of course. He got to go to Abu Ghraib in Iraq and then the Arghandab Valley, where he served. And with multiple injuries, he went through the Warrior Transition Unit. And then he's now out of the military, got his degree, and he wrote a great book, Sons of Arghandab. And without further ado, let's just bring on Joseph Fontenot. Welcome, Joseph.
Hey, how's it going, Rich?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you for being flexible tonight and jumping in.
Yeah, of course, man. Next man up, you know?
Heck yeah. So I just gave a 2-sentence blurb about you right there. If you don't mind, give us a little more about you, or as far as you want to go back to how we got here.
So I'll go back to, I guess, the beginning. Started back in 2006 when I joined the Army. Just prior to joining the Army, anybody that looks up on the internet to see what I did before that, there was a music career. There was a couple of well-known bands that I had the opportunity to play in. One of them, which is doing a reunion right now, which is doing some pretty good things, and I'm happy for them. The other one is a band called Jackknife. Their singer is now in a band called Lockjaw, who's doing some real good things. Our guitarist works for Breaking Benjamin. And those guys are doing some great things, and I'm happy for them as well. A chance meeting with a young soldier up in New York while we were on tour. A simple phrase, just went up to him, said, thank you. He said, no need to thank me. I do what I do for my family. Here I sit 20 years later, low curling towards retirement. I'm not actually retired yet. I'll be on the cusp here shortly, but so that's basically the extent of it. I have 2 deployments, one to Iraq, one to Afghanistan. I would have had several others, but 13 surgeries prevented that. Total knee replacement, replaced vertebrae in my spine, rod through my left foot, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure other veterans have the same issues.
You had to go above and beyond because you were a strike soldier, so you had to get hurt above and beyond, I guess.
I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it was just because I joined late. God saw it fit to throw a couple of extra hurdles in there for me.
Okay, a couple curveballs. We got to get used to those curveballs in life, and obviously you were able to hit those curveballs, and you kept your wits, and you were able to write the book, of course, and you got your degree in psychological forensics, right? So, I mean, that's 2 very big things there. One, getting a degree is awesome. Writing a book is even more instrumental in your life because not only did you write a story about what you saw, it also tells the story of your brothers that were there with you in the Arghandab Valley.
I did. To be honest, I had zero intentions of writing the book. The book came to be because of Andrew Bragg. Conveniently, Andrew Bragg and I actually did the RIP together in the Arghandab, and neither one of us actually realized it until we started talking afterwards. Andrew and I were partnered up during the RIP, and the only reason that we realized that was because later on we were talking, and I asked him where he was at, as far as the room structure inside of Cop Tynes, and he said that his room was the first one when you walked in on the right. And I said, no way, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, do you remember sharing music with me? And he said, yeah. I said, no shit, huh? And come to find out, he shared a piece of music by a group. I think the band was called Saving Judgment. It was, if I'm not mistaken, it was a soldier from the 82nd that had wrote the song. And it was actually very, very good piece of music. But he shared it with me, and they were trying to get a hold of that music again. And just so happened 14 years later, I was able to give it back to him.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. So that's I had William Yeski also from 1508 82nd. He was on the show I think last year. He wrote the book Damn the Valley about the same valley. So there's 3 books about the Arghandab Valley in secession. Basically, I think his platoon got ripped out with the platoon with Andrew Bragg, and then you guys went in there. So it's pretty wild.
So Williams' platoon was on the north side of the valley, and Andrew's guys in 2 Charlie was on the south side. So I think William and Andrew were there kind of roughly at the same time.
Yeah,
they were just on the opposite sides of the river.
Probably looking at each other every day without even knowing it.
Yeah, probably so.
So what are some of the stories that you share in the book without giving the whole book away, which comes out June 15th of this year, right?
Yeah. So obviously there were a lot of trials and tribulations. I don't sing a whole lot of, the book wasn't meant to sing of heroism or sing of basically talk bad about anybody in our unit. It was just to give an honest depiction of what I saw from my foxhole, but I wanted to include multiple avenues for the reader to see from different angles what went on in the Arghandab. I didn't want it to be a story that was told one-dimensionally just from me. So I wanted it to be told from across the Arghandab. So I did a lot of interviews from a lot of different people from the different COPs that were being set up or that were already set up. And it allowed me to get a lot of information from a lot of different soldiers. There were soldiers that got hit during the deployment that I didn't even realize that got hit. One of the major operations that that propelled the Top Guns forward during the deployment was the Battle of Bakersfield, which happened on July 30th. And during that operation, we lost Sergeant Stout, Specialist Stansberry, and Master Sergeant Pittman. Master Sergeant Pittman was attached to us from Asymmetric Warfare Group. He had just retired from Special Forces a few months earlier and started working for Asymmetric Warfare Group. And he had been a huge asset to us. He was actually there on the ground when Specialist Moon was killed as well during the patrol with 2 Charlie. And the same day that happened with Bakersfield, right down the road, just a couple of, we say right down the road, but a couple of 1,000 meters away, Cop Nolan took another casualty that I had no knowledge of, because we had so much going on in our front door of Cop Tynes that I didn't even know about it. But at that same time, there was, Cop Nolan was doing their own medevac for an amputee that they had suffered, which was it's talked about in the book. And Smoke Manley, it kind of ties in with Smoke Manley's story, and it talks about how there's so much that went on in the Arghandab that it's really hard to capture everything that went on. And to be perfectly honest, I could write that book probably 100 different ways, 100 different times, and still not capture everything.
I know I first got the strike in July. I came from Korea and got put on Rear D to do the training, and then met you guys over there at the end of August, beginning of September. So all those battles were happening, and we were receiving all that stuff at the ramp ceremonies here on Campbell. Those who came back this way, that we had to pay homage to them as they came home. And so that was our mindset going in, that you guys are in the biggest fight that the brigade had been in a while, an asymmetric fight that was unmatched. And then we landed the day I landed on Fob Wilson. Rockets came in as my bird landed, and I said, "Oh, this is how they welcome you here. This is how they welcome you to Afghanistan." So you go right into the fight, and it didn't stop the whole time I was there.
Yeah. So in the initial our initial entry into Kandahar, it talks about us flying in and getting welcomed from the Taliban fighters that were on the mountaintops, and them shooting at the bird as we're flying over. And it talks about us having to do a combat landing. And it was very real. Like that happened. Like you could hear, it sounded like popcorn inside of the hull of the bird. But like we were lucky that day, and we were lucky for a lot of days after that. Sergeant Phillips Casey made a comment when we got home during the conversation that he wished that we had an overlay that would have shown us of where every IED was actually placed and where we walked, just to see how close we were.
Oh yeah. Wow, yeah. That would have been an amazing overlay to see how lucky you guys were to make it out of there and through those IED basically farm that they had over there.
Yeah.
They were pretty astute at putting that stuff in, hiding it, and then of course filming as you guys or any one of the strike soldiers in that whole area went through any of those canals or the river valley just to get their propaganda videos.
Yeah, they tried. To be honest, I don't recall seeing too many videos of our time there. They were pretty proficient initially of setting in place little markers in the trees. Those markers eventually, like once we figured out like what they were doing as far as the markers, it got passed around pretty quickly like wildfire across the AO, and that helped everyone to kind of tame down the amount of IEDs, because everybody started noticing, everybody started paying attention to like the surrounding areas, and they started looking for, the signs and symptoms, because, everybody goes to JRTC prior to going over there. And what we were looking for at JRTC was nothing compared to what we were actually going to be looking for there. One of the things that we were taught when we were in JRTC was like if we found a rug, to like look underneath the rug to see if maybe there's like a trap door or something underneath the rug, right? Well, we found this surgical bed down site where they were bringing some of their wounded after we would get into a firefight with them. And we found it, and it had like blood on the rug. So me and Sergeant Cox were kind of looking around in this site, and doing what I had been trained. I went to lift up the rug, and as I went to lift up the rug, Sergeant Cox stopped me, and there was a wire that was connected to the rug that went over to this wall where they had buried an HME jug into the wall. And as soon as I were to lift it up, the rug, it would have just blasted me straight to the side of the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that same training that we had focused on would have ended up
killing you.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, and it's no, I mean, you could say it's no fault to JRTC because they're usually kind of a step behind because they're getting intel from people before you went over, or two before probably, where they actually honed it, the lesson Army for the Center for Lessons Learned, and then when it finally filters to them, they give it to you. It's already too late at that point because the enemy, as you learned in both areas in Iraq and Afghanistan, they're always a step ahead in their craftiness and how to get ahead of our technology.
Yeah, they change their TTPs just like we do. So,
and they constantly watch how you guys walked on patrol, how you guys reacted on an ID, how you guys did everything. So you guys had to learn how they reacted to you while they were already learning how you were reacting to them. It's a game of cat and mouse, and it's hard to win when you're always playing that same game.
And maybe that's why they sent the artillery in instead of another infantry unit, because they figured if they sent another infantry unit in, the infantry would be schooled on, infantry tactics the correct way. Instead, they sent an artillery unit that was just kind of, they're like, hey, we know the basics, probably like going to level 1 combatives, enough to get yourself in trouble. So that's kind of what we did. We knew enough to get ourselves in trouble. And then we got there, the 82nd guys said, hey, we're going to teach you enough to help you, which they did. So kudos to them. From there, it was like sink or swim. Once they left, it was, let's figure this shit out.
Yeah, and I think it's almost every rip I went through on deployments. It was, we'll give you enough fodder to get you going because we know you're not going to do things the same way we did it anyway.
Yeah,
and you may not even listen to me, but we're going to give you everything that worked for us.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that the guys from 2 Charlie, we listened to those guys very intently. Andrew Bragg, Dale Nollinger, Farnsworth, LaChance, those guys were, I can't sing their praises enough. I'm not going to say they were nice to us. They were assholes to us, which is fine. They were very hardened, and they were very, they had lost a lot of their brothers, and they had lost a lot of their leaders. So they were shell shocked, a lot of them, which we actually had a joint like meetup together, to where we all kind of like talked and kind of like cleared the air of anything we had to say or whatever. And it was nice for everybody to just talk again, under one umbrella with, like no hard feelings. And, but those guys, like, there's a lot of things that they showed us that, paid dividends down the road.
Definitely. It definitely does. And I remember when I think it was Big Red 1 that came in to take our place. They came in and they didn't want to listen to anything we were saying to them until finally, I think one of their guys was out with 175 Cav, and they were lost on that day. And then all of a sudden they turned their ears on and say, what are we doing wrong? I said, maybe you're not listening to what we're saying to you. You're going, this is our SOP. This is how we did things at Fort Riley, and this is how it's going to work here. And us telling them it wasn't Fort Riley, it wasn't NTC. This is Afghanistan. It's a whole different monster. Finally clicked in their heads at that point. And I think it helped them. It was a valuable lesson to them, invaluable to the young man we lost. He was from their cab unit as well. But sometimes it's those hard lessons that we don't want to listen to, but you really have to let it sink in.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a question in the chat from the audience for you. It's from Warrior Mindset 87. Joseph, you gave up a music career to serve in the Army. Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if you had stayed in music instead of enlisting?
So I don't regret, for 1 second, giving up my music career to join the Army. It was something that I wanted to do mainly for my son. And as much as I love music and I'm still very passionate about music, there's no better day than Friday for me because new music comes out every Friday, and I'm passionate about it. I still communicate with my friends in Acid Bath, predominantly Mike and Jimmy, and I still talk to some of the guys from Jackknife and some of the other bands that I've been in. My life would be completely different had I continued down that road. But I can honestly say that the sacrifice that I made to join the Army for my son was the exact right sacrifice to make. My son is now 26 years old. My son has a degree in engineering. He's building fighter planes for Lockheed Martin. And I was able to give him my GI Bill, so he didn't pay a dime to go to college. So I think from an aspect of a father, the decision that I made to sacrifice my music career to serve my country and be able to do something for my son was the absolute right decision. No matter how much I loved music, I don't think I could have given him that same opportunity.
That's outstanding, and kudos to your son. That's not engineering. Is not an easy degree to go through. So you have to have brains and a lot of willpower to get through it. And then to be where he is now at Lockheed Martin, building fighter jets, that's amazing. And congratulations to you for instilling that in him.
Yeah, he's a pretty amazing young man. He's been playing drums since he's like 3 years old. So maybe one day he'll make enough money to where he can quit working, and maybe he'll be the next generation of musician.
There you go. And you could be the proud dad with the fan signs. It's good.
Yeah. I'll be the old man with a skullet, like standing in the back or something.
Heck yeah, skullet. Awesome. Outstanding. Another question popped in while you were answering that one. This is from Ghost Recon Vets. Looking back on your deployments, what's one lesson you learned in combat that still applies to your life and leadership today? Thank you, Ghost Recon Vets.
I think probably be open to listen to even the lowest person on the food chain. Meaning it doesn't matter if someone's a private, a specialist, or a non-commissioned officer or a second lieutenant. It doesn't really matter if they have something productive to say that can be beneficial to what we're doing. Like, actually listen to them, be open-minded and listen to what they're saying, because they might have a better way that we can do something that's going to pay dividends. Just because you have experience in Iraq doesn't mean that experience is going to pay dividends in Afghanistan. Doesn't just because you have 20 years of doing something one way doesn't mean that a brand new private or a 4-year specialist doesn't have a better way of doing something. So I take some of the experiences that we had from combat, that our soldiers were able to manipulate certain scenarios, and we're able to say, hey, chief, like, we did this way, why don't we try it like this? I think we'll get a better result. And we tried it their way, and sure as shit it worked. So being open to allowing your subordinates to think outside the box allows you as a leader to see the picture in a much wider angle than if you just try and control the picture yourself. So I think having the opportunity to see the picture as clear as you can allows you to be a better leader. So that's what I took out of being in combat, is allowing your subordinates to help you to be the best leader you can be. And that's just being open-minded.
Definitely. That's I think a lesson a lot of us as leaders learn in the military, that you have to be able to have that open mind to listen both up and down. So you're always going to be getting mentored from those above you, but sometimes that person that you're mentoring is giving you advice that you really don't know it at right away, but then you realize that they have a lot more to offer than you really are supposed to allow or expected to allow. And they can be the solution to the problems that you have. And sometimes their tactical acumen is a little better than yours because they learned it a different way, and you can bring them in and solve the problem. So as you were going through the process of the book, did you reach out to all your old buddies? I'm sure you're still in contact with a lot of them anyway. But were there any that was like a good reunion to get back with and maybe check on some of the stories?
So there was actually several. So my old PL, his name is Zach Panaleo. He and I still talk quite frequently. Like you'll see in the book, he and I become, pretty inseparable. There wasn't much we did without each other, and like he was he was pretty much my left hand. Like I would have rather gone down with the ship than walk away without him. I talk to him pretty often. And Zach, being Zach, he kept a journal while we were in theater. I can honestly tell you I did not. Like I said, I never had any intentions on writing a book. I was more focused on making sure our guys were doing the right shit, making sure that their weapons were straight, making sure we were doing PCCs, PCIs, making sure we were planning routes and stuff like that. And to me, that was more important than keeping a journal, to be honest with you. So I never kept a journal. However, when I reached out to Zach and I asked him if he would be interested in like doing an interview with me, he said, I can, however, I can also send you my journal. So by him sending me his journal, it helped me to get specific dates. It helped me to get more definitive like distances of firefights that we were in and things like that. So that was very beneficial for me as far as the book went. I reached out to now Lieutenant Colonel Smithson, who was at Cop Babber. He was able to give me a lot of information, which was very beneficial because he was at a completely different cop. He even went as far as giving me information that you'll see in the book from like when he was at JRTC. And it was like lessons learned, like stuff that he, like when they were at JRTC, it was kind of like one of those, like, these are things that I don't want to do when we get to combat. Like these are, mistakes I don't want to make. So like that stuff's listed in the book by his permission. And, there was those connections that it was nice to reconnect with some of those guys. There was some of the guys that when we talked about certain scenarios, they broke down, had a really hard time bringing up old wounds, talking about old things that happened. And, some of them started crying or whatever and like apologized. And I made it a point to say, like, don't apologize. Like, whatever you do, don't apologize. Like, this is something that, like, you went through. This is something that you feel like, trust me when I tell you, like, there's been tears shed in the process of writing this book. So like, don't worry about shedding tears. Like, if you need to cry, you need to shed a tear, like, do what you feel you need to do. So there was a lot of people that I reconnected with, and even new people that I connected with from writing this book.
Like you said, when you bring up those old wounds, it does bring back a lot of bad thoughts, bad memories, but also it helps to get it out too. If they can breathe a little more when that story's out, which is why we started this show to begin with, to get our brothers and sisters on here who were having a lot of trouble with all the stuff they held in. Let them tell their story. Maybe they'll stay with us a few more years, a few more decades, instead of becoming part of that statistic we always hear, 2244, whichever way you want to look at the numbers. And I know within Strike, we had a lot go that route after we got home. Within the next year or so after we got back, we lost a lot of dudes and dudettes to that same scenario because they lost that adrenaline and that survivor's guilt and whatever else was in there that caused it to happen. So it's a real thing, and we have to keep fighting for our brothers and sisters as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question in the chat just popped up too. Tactical Thinker 22. With your degree in forensic psychology, what are some key mental strategies you use to help veterans transition successfully into civilian life?
Well, being that I'm in the process of doing it myself right now, I would say the biggest thing is focusing on my own mental well-being. So not to tie your question back to the book, but I'm going to tie it back to the book. In the book, there's a chapter that's called The Final Mission. And the final mission is what happened during the writing of the book. And it's more about during the writing of the book based off of the mental aspect of writing the book. For a psychological aspect of preparing yourself for retirement, preparing yourself for transition from the military into civilian life, everybody that I've talked to so far tells me it is such a huge, enormous jump because no one out there cares, and there's no brotherhood like the brotherhood that we have inside the military. Brotherhood, sisterhood, however you want to look at it. And there's nothing like it in the military, and I think that's part of the reason why I've stayed as long as I have and fought as hard as I've fought to stay as long as I have. So what do? I tell people on a daily basis, don't worry about the Army, because the Army will still be the Army after we're gone. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mental mental stability. In taking care of your mental stability, you also have to take care of your physical health. Because we've been soldiers for so long that if you don't take care of your physical health, at least to some level, your mental stability will also suffer. So the two kind of tie into each other. There's a gentleman here. He's a sergeant first class here at Fort Sill, and I've just recently had an opportunity to help him go and take care of himself. And out of the last 3.5 years, it's probably the most important thing that I've done, with the exception of writing this book, because I've had the opportunity to help him save himself from himself, or save him from himself. Because even in talking to him, he was headed down a one-way street. And he had already made up his mind he was not going to get help. He had, that whole stigma of not wanting to get help. He had chosen to not want to go get help. And I was asked to speak to him as a senior NCO, so I did. But I didn't speak to him as a senior NCO. I spoke to him as a soldier. I spoke to him as someone who gives a shit. Because I think we all know, as either soldiers or ex-soldiers, at some point or another, take the rank off, take the name off, and just be a man. Just be human and talk to somebody like you actually give a shit. So from a psychological standpoint, it doesn't matter if I'm a specialist, a sergeant, a first sergeant, it doesn't matter. Talking to somebody and just showing them that you actually care about their well-being and that you want to see them get better no matter what it takes, I think that's more important than anything else. And for me, that's probably been one of the most successful things that I've been able to do to help somebody that I know is going to be transitioning soon, as well as myself, is just ensuring that people that I know that are going to be transitioning are starting to focus on taking care of themselves mentally, because for far too long, I think the GWAT population have put that on the back burner because of the stigma of, if I go do this, it's going to be a career ender.
Definitely.
Hopefully
100%.
that answers your question.
I think that answers the questions. That question 100%. Awesome way to answer that question. So I know after that specific deployment, when we went through that reintegration thing at I think it was the field house we went through or whatever. I went to the mental health station. I said, look, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. And they told me to go back to work on the Sergeant First Class. I said, all right. I just asked for the help. I'm here on bended knee asking for help, and you told me to go to work. So it was that was 2011. It wasn't until 2016 I finally seen somebody. So it took a while for me to finally, I guess, root it back up and get that help, and now I'm doing a lot better.
That's good.
We got another question. This one is from Eagles Up. After suffering career-ending injuries, you still fought to return to the 101st. What kept you pushing forward when so many others might have given up?
Several things. Like I said, I joined because of my son. And so there's all these little memes online, and different people pull different strength from different things, right? So I saw this meme, and it was a lion, and there was this little kitten that was like sitting on the side, and it said, if you quit now, don't forget who's watching.
Right.
And I thought about that, and I was like, if I give up right now, what does that show my son? It shows my son that it's okay to quit. It shows him that it's okay to give up. And I know that there's a point that anybody could give up. I understand that. And there comes a point when I guess it's okay. I guess it's okay to say, you know what, I'll take a knee and I'll walk away, and that's fine. But I think each person has to decide that for themselves. For me personally, I wasn't ready. I decide on my own terms when I'm going to do stuff. When I walked away from music, I made the decision on my own. I wanted to make the decision to walk away from the Army on my own. I got told 5 different times that I was going to have to med board, and all 5 times I fought it. When I was at the Warrior Transition Battalion at Fort Campbell, I fought it. That I know of, as of right now, I'm the only person to walk away from the Warrior Transition Battalion, now the Soldier Resiliency Unit at Fort Campbell, twice, and return back to units at Fort Campbell twice. I returned back to 3rd Brigade once, and then 1st Brigade the second time. Why did I return back? I returned back because I love being a soldier. I love being a non-commissioned officer, and I love doing my job. As cheesy as that might sound, that's the real answer. Like there's, I think there comes a point in your career where you're beat up and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're ready to hang it up. And I think for me, at 20 years, I think I've gotten to that point where like my body is busted after my back surgery where they replaced my vertebrae. I think that was kind of like the culminating event for me. And I think now it's time for me to like move out of the way and let somebody else take my place. But when I had all the other surgeries at Campbell, I wasn't ready, and I wanted to continue to fight, and I did continue to fight. And I'll bring that full circle. I had a soldier that I just recently lost on February 2nd. His name is Tyler Loveridge. He was killed at Fort Campbell on a motorcycle accident. It was his second motorcycle accident. His first motorcycle accident happened in 2020. He was a 13 Juliet. And when he got in that motorcycle accident, he was one of my soldiers, and I was told like he more than likely wasn't going to make it. So I drove as fast as I could to Vanderbilt to be by his side. And long story short, he ended up making it, but he had to have his leg amputated. So when he woke up, he's a goofy kid. First off, he is one of the goofiest kids you ever meet in your life. So he woke up and he saw me standing there and he was like, "Well, shit, Smoke." And I was like, "What's up, love?" And he was like, "Nothing, Smoke. Feels like I've been in a motorcycle accident." I was like, "Well, shit, Smoke." I was like, "That you were." And he made this face, and I said, "What's wrong, love?" And he said, "My foot itches." So I started rubbing his foot, and he said, "No, my other foot, Smoke." And that's when it dawned on me that he didn't know that his foot had been amputated. So I said, "Listen, I'm gonna lift the sheet off of your leg. I need you to look down, all right?" So he looked down, and that was the first time he had ever saw his leg was gone.
Wow.
The next thing that soldier said to me blew my mind, because the next thing out of his mouth was, "Smoke, do you think that they're going to make me get out of the Army now?" So this young man, even knowing that they had just amputated his leg, his concern wasn't anything else other than, "Do you think they're going to make me get out of the Army?" And I said, "You know, love, I don't know, but I'll be with you every step of the way." So I was with him every step of the way, and he ended up fighting the med board, and he won, and he stayed in the Army. And then he ended up going to JRTC. His nub got infected, and he ended up having to get out. But he stayed in. He fought it, and it was that kind of mentality, like why I fought so hard to stay in, because of soldiers like that, soldiers that love the Army, soldiers that want to be in the Army, and it's like I love the mentality. I love that mentality, and that's why I love being a soldier.
Definitely, and he died doing the thing he loved the most, riding a motorcycle too. So
Yeah.
second time as well. We have a very bad problem here in the greater Clarksville area. People hitting motorcycles. Uh, it could be either side of the equation: driver of the car, driver of the truck, or the motorcycle. But either way, we lose too many motorcycle riders here. And
Yeah.
he's one we lost to. So bad. It's definitely a show of resilience on his part, a show of resilience on your part to go through twice. I mean, you went from strike, you went to the Rockasans, then the Bastogne, then you finally said, "That's it, I got to leave Fort Campbell." So you went to now you're at Fort Sill. It's the home of the artillery there, and now the counter UAS as well. So you guys have a tough mission out there, bringing new soldiers in, training them on what to do. Have you seen any good trends of new soldiers coming through now?
So what I'll tell you is they're very smart, very crafty, and most of them come from prior military families. So you figure most of the kids that are coming in now, their parents are like GWAT. So like it's not very often when you ask them like how many of your parents served in the Army, like all of their hands raised up. So like most of them have a pretty good understanding of the way the Army works nowadays.
Well, that's a good thing. It makes things a little easier for cadre and for NCOs there as well. So the senior NCOs to wrestle them in and get them pointed in the right direction on their compass. That's good. Just we've been talking 50 minutes now. It's gone by pretty fast. It's awesome to talk with a brother, Strike brother especially. If someone wants to get in contact with you, maybe have you on their show or just to chat with you, what's the best way to do that?
They could hit me up on email at joseph.fontenot1@gmail.com, or they can look me up on Facebook. It's under my name, Joseph Fontenot. Instagram, same thing, or LinkedIn, same thing.
Awesome. And what we like to do here as we start to close out is to have you tell the Misfit Nation 3 things they can start doing tomorrow to make them a better human as they move through the rest of their lives. What are the 3 things you do to help you get through the day and to make you feel better and push forward?
3 things. So I would say 3 things every day. Number one is be grateful for something. Start your day being grateful for something. It doesn't matter if it's small, big, doesn't matter. Be grateful for something. Second, in a store, and chances are you're going to go to some store every day. Walking around in a store and you see an old veteran with a hat. Doesn't matter if it's a Desert Storm, World War II, doesn't matter. Go up to them and say thank you, because that means more to them than you know. A lot of us, especially myself, don't know how to take a thank you when somebody says thank you for your service. However, most of those guys didn't get thank yous when they came home. So just going up to them and say, hey, thank you for paving the way goes a long way. Lastly, take a few seconds out of the end of your day and watch a sunset. Because if you watch a sunset at the end of each of your day, you will sleep more peaceful. I promise.
Outstanding. 3 great things right there. And Misfit Nation, take heed to those and write them down. Put them on the list of all the other things you've learned here in the Misfit Nation. His first one is something that comes up a lot: be grateful. Everyone always says be grateful. So that's an awesome thing to do. It kind of also clears your chest when you're grateful for things, clears your mind. And seeing that sunset at the end of the day shows that you can have that victory of making it through the day. And as we stay here all the time, it's going across the screen right now, stack your victories daily. And I think that's a great thing to do. For the book, I didn't actually go into mentioning it. It comes out June 15, 2025. You can pre-order right now on Amazon. I'm going to pop that link in the chat right now too, or on the scroll probably. It'll be on the scroll. There it is. So it's scrolling across the bottom. You guys can get in there and do the pre-order. If you look at some of the names of the chapters, for me, I understand the names that are on there, and a lot of them are men that we lost while we're over there, Lieutenant Weaver and a few other that are on there. I know the names. The names stuck right out to me as soon as I see them. So make sure you get this book and support the work of Joseph Fontenot, and as it moves forward. Again, brother, thank you for taking some of your time tonight to hang out with us and to come in on basically an hour and a half notice. So
yeah, of course, man. Thanks for having me.
And if you ever want to come back on again, just give us a shout. We'll get you on our Tuesday show with my brother and Jake. Let them talk to you from a different angle.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you having me up, and wish you guys nothing but the best moving forward.
Thanks, brother. Have a good night.
You too. See ya.
Night, Misfit Nation.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you